Hello again. I'm Braddock Supervisor John Cook. Welcome back to Braddock Neighborhood News, the program I am using to provide you with information on issues facing our community and ideas on how we can strengthen our neighborhoods. This month, I'm pleased to have our Braddock District Lord and Lady Fairfax honorees, Tony Vellucci and Monica Jackson, here on the show. Every year, as part of our Celebrate Fairfax Festival, each member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors selects two individuals who have demonstrated outstanding volunteer service, heroism, or other special accomplishments to receive the award. Our recipients this year exemplify these qualities, and I appreciate their taking time out of their busy day to sit down and talk. Monica, Tony, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks,
Thank you for having us.
I want to congratulate you both on your great really careers of volunteer service, and that's what we are recognizing with the Lord and Lady Fairfax program. You know, it's really a testament to what I think is really the underlying strength of Fairfax County, which is our people and specifically the spirit of volunteerism that we have in our communities. And what makes Fairfax such a great place is not just all the professional accomplishments that people have, but it's what we do for each other in the community. And that's what Lord and Lady Fairfax is really all about. And Tony, you and I got to know each other when we were both Civic Association presidents. You were in Kings Park West, I was in Kings Park. And now you've served on the Park Authority Board, and you volunteer with our friends of Lake Acatink and otherwise. What is it that motivates you to volunteer your time in the community?
Basically, to make a difference. And I think that's why a lot of people volunteer. They just want to make a difference. They want to make the community a little bit better than when they found it. Whether it's environmental issues, recreational issues, or just even organizational issues. But for the most part, people want to improve the quality of life. They want to make their community a better place than it was, and they do that by putting in time and effort, sweat equity.
Mm-hmm.
Monica, you have run a 5-star family daycare for a number of years, been very active, not just in running your business, but in working with other providers, the Virginia Alliance of Family Child Care Associations. You're vice chair of the Fairfax Child Care Advisory Council. You've really taken a leading role in helping others who are caring for children in their home. And what motivates you to go that extra step to help a colleague?
I try to fill a void, and it's a void that is there for others and for myself. It's a steward. For me personally, it's a stewardship. I have my time that I have to account for, I have my talents, and I have my treasures. And I try to use those to the best of my ability, but not to be selfish with it, to try to use it so that I could get the message out. For me, quality childcare is very important. I started off as a mom, a working mom. I started off looking for quality childcare, and I realized that it's a business that allows every one of us with unique talents to come and to use it in any way, shape, or form that we use, to use it. And there are certain parameters, and it's a creative process for me. I get excited over it.
We use family child care for a number of years for our kids, and really enjoyed the flexibility, enjoyed that family atmosphere in a home as opposed to a more sort of center-based. For others, the center-based is what they're looking for, and that's great too. But that's really, it's a labor of love when you have a family child care operation.
It is. My kids are grown. What motivates me now is the fact that, like most education concept, it takes 20, 25 years to see the results of what you do. And because I've been doing it this long, I see the results, and it's very motivating. And I try to take into context what I know and what research data shows, and I get excited for what I do. And like you said, you use family child care. You're not the only one. 63%, according to the statistics, show that family child care is a preference. And so with that foundation, I feel a sense of burden that we need to train providers, and we need to show them the benefit of what we have to do it's not just the kids that we're raising today. We're raising today's kids plus the next generation when we give them the right tools.
Right, and that process of bringing people in and nurturing them, it's something that certainly any volunteer leader needs to do. Tony, you know very well as a civic association president, that's always a challenge. Any community event needs volunteers, and you need people to step up. And when you're president, your job is to motivate them, and if not, do it yourself. And that's usually how we learn how to motivate others.
Absolutely, absolutely. You basically know that if you don't find somebody to do it, then you're going to end up having to do it yourself, and it's a lot nicer when you've got others doing it with you, and many hands make for a lighter load.
Yeah.
And you can also really get into the creativity of the community when different people will step forward to run a project, whether it's the Halloween party or picnic out in Kings Park West or something else, that somebody will step up and they add their own personal touch to it, and that's kind of how we grow as a community, I think. You both represent not only volunteerism but important sort of issues or segments of our population in the county. And Monica, you were talking a little bit about child care, which is so important because we have so many working folks and others here. And Tony, the parks and our recreation are things that we're very proud of here in the county. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your service on the Park Authority, and that's volunteerism to the max.
Volunteerism to the max. We have at least 2 meetings a month. We have committee meetings, we have board meetings, and then, as you know, we have several events during the month, such as ribbon cuttings for bridge openings and stream restorations and things along those lines. One of the things I wanted to hit up, though, on, John, is the fact that when you do get volunteers in, they kind of get bitten by the bug, the volunteer bug, and you find that if you let them run their own show, they do incredible things. What I've learned to do is to try to bound volunteer requirements for folks, because they're all very busy. And so, I say, hey, this might take 2 hours a month, but what you find a lot of times is that once a volunteer gets bit by the bug, they're putting in more than that 2 hours a month. They're really helping out, and they're doing other things, and it's infectious, which is really good.
That's true. We tell people who we're trying to encourage to volunteer that many times people go into volunteering thinking, okay, sort of a sense of obligation. I think I want to help out. I'm doing this for someone else. And they come out of the experience saying, boy, I think I gained more from helping others than maybe even the people I helped. And Monica, I know you find that when you're working with other child care providers, and I'm sure the sense of pride that you have when you come home after having helped somebody else with their business and their children, it's a great feeling.
Exactly. I go in with this attitude that I'm going to be of help to someone, and when everything settles and you start reviewing, you have a plan, you review it at the end of it, and you think, boy, did I really do anything? Because the person that you helped, you get so much back, that inner satisfaction. It's very hard to describe it, but it's a self-satisfaction that is undescribable for me. And this area has the cultural diversity. I really enjoy for me, volunteering is the fun part of it. The fun keeps me going. It's very fun.
You mentioned diversity. Our population is very diverse, and your child care business has over the years focused on many parents and children who have had special challenges and needs, and that's really become a hallmark of your professional service.
It is. I've had the opportunity to be given, as recent as last year, I received 3 teens that came from Pakistan, and I was given the opportunity for the whole summer to orientate them to this area. Some basic things that we take for granted, and milestones that they will remember a year or 2, maybe 10 years from now. It's important to me to know that I made a difference for those students. We've had toddlers that come, no English, to be able to get them ready for school and to see them transition. It is a business, but there's no money that you can put on when a child says, it's my birthday, and the parent wants to do special cultural thing, and the child says, no, I want my family, and the child's referring to the daycare family. It is. It's very exciting.
And you've seen a lot of change, I would think, over the last 20 plus years in child care, both in the children you serve, their parents, and also just how we view child care. It's not here's a room with a bunch of toys, see you at the end of the day, but you really work with kids. A lot of our early education comes through child care now.
Yes, and it started all with the school readiness, being informed as to what the school system expected from us, and then breaking it down and putting it in terms of early childhood, the context of what is best practice as far as early childhood, and what should we be doing on a day-to-day basis. John, we have these kids for 10 hours of their waking time. So we have to be responsible, and we have to make sure that when they walk into school, they're absolutely ready. I had an opportunity earlier this week to take one that's transitioned into Montura Elementary, and it was just, she was so ready. We just looked at her, and it was almost like, you know, you build something and you're waiting for it to take off, and you see a smooth takeoff, and you sit back and you say, I did it.
And how do you, because you've worked with training other providers, and unlike some professions, there really isn't, you really can't go to school for being a child care provider unless you get the educational degree, and the licensing is about safety and things like that, which are of course very important. So tell us a little bit about your work in sort of educating and training providers to be that early childhood education person there.
I trained in my previous profession as a banker, and so I had the training skills. I did not know that you didn't go to school to get a degree to do childcare. I assumed that everyone did. Upon completing my degree, I was offered a contract with Arlington Department of Social Services. But before I got there, in the classroom at Nova, I was given like 10 students to work with. Teachers needed the help. And it made me feel good. It also made me, you can't teach something you don't know. You get, for some reason, you have to speed up the knowledge. And I'm able to see, when I'm working, I'm able to see what I can do with, it's very hard to describe it, but I see the implication of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So if I train myself and the information is research-based, I go back and I think, how can I incorporate this on a simple day-to-day basis at a child level so that we can get from here to there?
And the learning never stops.
It does
not. It's not just a matter of, oh, I took the class, I got the degree, and now I'm out there. But
no.
Part of what I know you do is you continue to learn and help other providers.
It is. And I am unique. I know I'm unique in that I came to this country like most of the people that come to Northern Virginia. This is not, I was not born and raised here. And I know what I had to go through, and having walked that, when I meet someone in that stature, I feel like, okay, I know how to do this, let me help you. And in the meantime, I'm learning so much more globally from this person that I'm working with. And I'm able to take my failures and package it so that someone else can succeed from it.
Now, you said you were a banker, or in banking,
yes.
And I didn't know that, so now I'm intrigued. You made the change,
yes.
and tell us about that. What was it that sort of motivated you to say, you know, banking, I did that, now I'm going to do something very different?
Well, you know, we were talking earlier before the show, and I have a health issue with a brain tumor. My portfolio when I left banking was over $300 million, and I worked for someone that was very special. At the time, I didn't know that. If I can mention his name, Bob Pincus. And Pincus was very community-driven. Everything we did had to be community. And coming from overseas to here, you're by yourself, and you're really relying on the foundation of where you are, the people that surround you. So I learned really early there. And when the tumor reached a point where we were sending the kids out to daycare, and we were looking at our values, are they getting really us? And we said, you know, we're going to stay home, and we're going to do what we have to do. And we didn't do homeschool, but we came close to being involved. And I started volunteering in the school with my daughter. And I became a strong part of the PTA, raising $15,000 every year for the school through a hospitality food program. And we just carried that through graduation, and concurrently we did the work at the state that you were talking about. It was all kind of a foundation to serve, but it was also a foundation to teach our kids and to teach the kids that were entrusted in our care.
That's a tremendous story of taking a difficult personal circumstances and having that motivate you to help others. And we see those stories so often, and it's just so rewarding, you know, to see people doing that, and it's an inspiration to others in the community. So we really appreciate that. And, you know, we need, you know, leaders to become inspired, and hopefully not all to have, you know, those personal circumstances that get them involved. And Tony, I know that our parks would never survive and certainly never thrive without the volunteerism we have and the community work that we have. And talk a little bit about how you and other Park Authority board members bring the community into service in our parks.
Well, we have a lot of programs, John, for folks to volunteer. We have IMA programs, invasive management area programs. We have local neighborhood programs. We have adopt a park programs. We have adopt a field programs. A lot of those programs obviously are geared towards our children, actually. You know, especially the adopt a field programs, where you know, basically the leagues go out and help take care of the fields to make sure that they're safe and ready for play. One of the key things that I like to push are the IMA programs. Part of that because if we can teach young people the importance of invasive management control and the fact that we have a lot of unwanted visitors in our forests, basically invasive species, then we help ourselves, we help our forest, and we help the kids because they're going to inherit the forest too someday. So we have a lot of volunteer programs. Of course, we also have a lot of programs with summer coming up, where we have the summer camps and the summer programs, especially Lake Accoting Park. I mean, Lake Accoting Park is going to be crowded probably from now until October because of all the children and all the picnics and all the events that will be going on there. So, you know, volunteers are an important part of making all that happen. And in essence, they're almost the glue that holds everything together, because without the volunteers, everything would fall apart pretty quickly.
Yes.
You know, you were talking about invasive species, and just to get into maybe more of the science of the parks, we don't all recognize the importance of making sure that our parks, the natural parts, the parts that we sort of try to maintain as forests, for a forest to work, it has to be, an ecosystem all works together. Every piece is there. And so an invasive species is a plant that really isn't supposed to be there.
Right.
And that causes a lot of problems. And of course, the plant that is supposed to be there that we wish wasn't is poison ivy. So we keep that because it belongs in the forest.
It's native, keep it.
Yeah, but talk a little bit about the importance of pushing back against invasive species, because it's a huge problem in our parks.
It's a huge problem, and it's an education problem more than anything else. So if we can start with children and educate them at a young age and have them carry that forward, that would be incredible. But for all intents and purposes, they displaced a native species. And what most people don't realize is that, you know, well, it's green, so it must be good. But that's not necessarily the case. What we find is that even though it's green, it is providing some benefit, but it's displacing the native species. And what we fail to realize is that it's taken nature hundreds of thousands of years to develop the ecological system that exists in any one geographic area. And so by introducing new species that don't have predators, and yes, even plants have predators, by introducing these new species, we're upsetting the apple cart there, and it's not a good thing to do that. It basically is, you know, taking advantage of the native species there, and they're disappearing quickly.
I know English ivy is maybe one of the great examples, because the stuff grows everywhere, all over the place.
And Japanese Pachysandra.
Right, and as it grows, it kills everything under it, and that's really the problem, is that it's so prolific that all the other things from the other plants to the bugs and everything else that need to be there, because it all supports the other, and that's really the problem.
And so we have this invasive management program, which is truly volunteer driven. You know, I think there's a couple of people on the Park Authority staff that run the program, But in terms of pulling out the weeds and restoring the habitat and basically doing the replantings of native species, it's all volunteer work. And it's people who get out there in the hot sun and in the rain, because they do it many times, rain or shine, and they make it happen. And so slowly but surely we're trying to take back our forest.
And let's just get the poison ivy thing out there, because I hate poison ivy, most people do, but it sort of belongs in the ecosystem, so talk about why we keep it.
You hit it right. You hit the nail on the head. We keep it because it's part of the ecosystem. I mean,
animals eat it and all that stuff.
The birds love it, and so while we may not enjoy it, nature has done a good job of protecting the other species who do use it and or make use of it, and so that's why we need to keep it around. So need to tell the audience to get rid of the Japanese Pachysandra and the English ivy and start replacing with native species. And
that doesn't mean we're going to plant poison ivy in our front yards.
No,
so
please
just,
don't. Please don't. But just to help the viewers, if there are any questions, they can always go to the Fairfax County website, and there's a lot of information on invasive species and what you can plant, what you shouldn't be planting. And I'd like to also thank one of our contributors, REI, who each year gives us a significant grant to take back the forest, and also to have these little playing cards which identify the 52 bad guys on the invasive species list.
And maybe the other sort of natural, if we can call it that, issue that I know is very important in parks and we work on is water. And people say, how is water an issue? But we have tremendous stormwater issues, and we're trying to do a lot in the parks and with the parks to control water and retain it and not have it blast through our streams and end up in the Chesapeake Bay, pulling all the bad nutrients with it. And talk a little bit about some of what the parks are doing with stormwater.
Well, Parks actually is doing as much as they can, but I think the real story there is Department of Public Works and Environmental Services. And as you know, every 2 cents out of every tax dollar, and it's going to go up to, I think, 2 1/4. So 2 1/4 cents of every tax dollar basically goes to stormwater management projects. And we've just seen stream restorations at Wakefield Run, the Quincy Stream at Crooked Creek Park, and there's others that are going on in the district and the county. And slowly but surely we're trying to regain control of our streams so that we don't have a lot of sediment going into our lakes, Lake Accotink being one, Royal Lake, Wood Glen Lake being another, so that we keep those as habitats for our friends.
And you mentioned the Public Works Department, which runs our stormwater program. We've built a very good partnership between Public Works and the parks. You had a big role in that. We worked on that in the Kings Park West Pool. But that partnership is really what gets it done as far as getting these projects done often in our parks.
Absolutely. I mean, we took, as you just said, we took a defunct pool, which was nothing more than a blight in the neighborhood, and which was fairly close to George Mason. So we had a lot of end of semester dumping that went on there, and basically turned that eyesore into what is today known as Rabbit Branch Park, and also satisfied Public Works requirements for stormwater management. So it's a win-win for everybody: the community, Public Works, parks, and your office too.
Well, thanks. And that that partnership, it's another one of those things we pride ourselves on in Fairfax County, is that we do work partnerships between government agencies and government and the private sector. Monica, when we had some changes in state regulations for child care and updated our county ordinances, you were one of the ones helping to spread the word and get child care providers to understand the zoning ordinance and those things, and talk a little bit about that experience, because that was very important in our efforts to get sort of a new regulatory scheme in place regarding child care.
It is very important. When we start off, Tony and I spoke earlier, no one wants to do a bad job. Basically, everybody wants to put their best foot forward. There are legal requirements. Unfortunately, by right, we were up to 7 without a problem, but anything over 7 required us to have this special permit or special exception. And providers did not understand it because it really was not explained well. We were very pleased, I was very pleased to to know that the Board of Supervisors, especially Sharon Bolivar, was willing to put in place not only the changes that you referenced to get us to the 12 or close to it, those of us that can make it, but the workshops, those 4 workshops on Saturdays, 4 Saturdays, over 20 zoning people coming out and just working with us to understand the application process, to assist us with the application. Those were all very, very important things. And I think it also heightened the awareness of providers to understand that, you know, yeah, it's a home business and there are legal requirements, and we need to educate ourselves on those requirements.
And that's what that project was we needed, we had a zoning change so that you could, in order to go from 10 children in the home to 12, for example, you needed a special permit through zoning. And that's to make sure that the community concerns about parking and noise and other things were being addressed. And it's a good thing to make sure that our home businesses are good neighbors in the community. But you're right, it was quite an effort to get the understanding out there and to help people through the difficult application process. And we worked a lot on the forms to try to get them to be more readable. And it was.
We talked about the simplification. I said 2 things came out of there. And if you recall, when I testified, I said, you know, demystify the process and give us a simple application. And sounds simple, and I know it took a lot of work to do it, but we did it.
But we did it working together,
Yes.
and you know, we could talk a lot more, but we're out of time. I'd like to thank Monica and Tony for joining me today and congratulate them on being named Braddock's Lord and Lady Fairfax for 2014. It is indeed an honor to be chosen, and I appreciate all that they both have given back to the community. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Braddock Neighborhood News. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or other needs, please contact my office at 703-425-9300 or email braddock@fairfaxcounty.gov. Tune in next month for another edition, and please remember to look for ways to volunteer. Your community needs you.